My name's Maddie. I'm a professional climber on the Canadian national team, and today I'm going to share 7 things I wish I knew when I started climbing. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. The first thing I wish I knew when I started climbing was that I should repeat boulders more often. When you repeat a boulder 2, 3, or even 4 times, your body is going to learn the moves that are necessary to get the boulder done better. This is key in your very first few months of climbing, where climbing doesn't feel supernatural and the moves are a little foreign and you don't quite know what you're doing on the wall. When you repeat a boulder that you have done successfully, it locks in that muscle memory and gets each move feeling more natural and easier. And if there is a move in the boulder that you've never tried before, repeating the boulder will lock in that movement into your muscle memory. For example, when I'm trying a coordination boulder such as a jump or a dyno, the time I stick the move might have been a fluke. It might have been luck, or maybe I don't really know why I stuck the move. And the only way to really learn that move is to do it again and again and really figure out what it took to send the boulder or get the move. Repeating boulders also helps you find the best beta on a boulder. Sometimes, even if you get to the top, maybe you didn't do it in the best way possible, or there was a more efficient or easier way to do it. If you walk away from a boulder without discovering that beta, you're missing out on some of the value that boulder could have given you. So if you repeat the boulder trying different betas or trying to find a different way to do the boulder, you can maximize the amount of learning you get from a boulder. Even as a professional climber, I still repeat all the time because I'm always trying to get moves feeling more natural and easier. And I only wish I did it more when I was starting. The second tip that I would give my former self when I started climbing is to fall correctly. Now, we've all probably been introduced to falling. Maybe if you go to a gym for the first time, the desk staff might run you through a quick tutorial on how to fall, but it's only when you practice proper technique for falling that it really gets ingrained in your mind. I myself have sprained my ankle at least 6 or 7 times, all because I fell improperly when I started. My biggest issue was that I stuck the landing. Never stick the landing. What I mean by this is when you fall and you fall directly onto your feet. Most of the time, maybe even 9 times out of 10, sticking the landing won't cause an injury. But the one time that your ankle isn't perfectly flat with the mats is the time that you are going to fall with your ankle slightly bent in and sprain it. And that's exactly what happened to me at least 6 or 7 times. So what you want to do is land on your feet and roll backwards onto your back, keeping your arms inwards and your head tilted in a little bit. That's the best way you can fall without getting injured. Another mistake I made falling was not checking the mats for cracks. Sometimes there's a bigger gap between the wall and the mat than you think. Or there's a gap between 2 mats that are connected. When you're falling, you want to make sure you're aware of where the cracks are. So if you're on the slab, make sure you're pushing away from the wall as you're falling so you don't fall directly cheese gratering down into the crack, because that probably accounts for 2 of the injuries I've had on my ankle when I fell. Learning how to fall is a vital skill that you need to build early so that when you get further in your climbing career, you don't have to think about it. It'll just be a habit. Number 3, build a hangboard habit and keep it. To this day, I definitely don't have the strongest fingers in the IFSC circuit, not even close. And it's purely because I never built a good habit of hangboarding until about 2 years ago. The best time to hangboard is 1.5 to 2 years into your climbing career. You'll want to use an open hand or half crimp position on the largest rung. If you're just starting hangboarding, use the largest rung. You're going to hang body weight for 10 seconds, take 2 minutes between each hang, and hang 5 times in total. I'd recommend doing this 2 times a week. And this is called max hanging, which is basically, if you're just starting hangboarding, just using body weight on a large rung should be enough to barely able to hang for 10 seconds. If you find that 10 seconds is a little bit easy, maybe add 5 pounds to start out with. And basically, you just want to hang for those 10 seconds. If it feels easy, add a little bit of weight. If it feels a little hard and you can't quite get to 10 seconds, then lower the weight a little bit. If you need to take some weight off, consider using a resistance band or a pulley system. One of the biggest reasons I didn't stick to my hangboarding routine was because I got injured. A large part of that was because I went too hard, too fast with my fingerboard routines. So the golden rule with hangboarding is go heavier before you go smaller. Put more weight on before you take the rung size down. But if you stick to a simple hangboarding routine twice a week and maintain that for months, even years on end, you will see substantial gains, because building tendon strength is a long game. You're building tendon strength now in order to be super strong in a year, even 2 years. The only thing that would ever hold you back is being inconsistent with it. So please be consistent with your hangboarding. The fourth thing I wish I knew was to vary my climbing styles. When I started climbing, I was 12 years old, I was 100 pounds, and I was very good at crimps on slab. In fact, that was the only thing I did. In my first year of climbing, I was sending some of the hardest climbs in the gym, but only on the slab. And my skills in the other side of the gym, all of the overhanging jump moves, I was terrible at. I was probably 3 grades worse at that climbing than I was at slab. Now, it's of course good to have a strong suit, but for me as a competition climber, I wanted to be well-rounded. And even if I wasn't a competition climber, there are so many other climbs in the gym besides the slab. In fact, the slab is a pretty small part of the gym compared to everything else. So you really want to be good at all of it. So my advice that I would have given my former self was to get out of my comfort zone. Go try boulders in the cave. Go jump around and fall and fall and fall until you stop falling. So along the lines of this advice is to go to other gyms and experience their setting and really try every single boulder you see and not just the ones you're good at. And if you are liking this video, prove it by leaving a like on the video. Tip number 5 is to make up boulders. It's no secret that route setters really know what they're doing. They are masters at deciphering beta and coming up with creative ways to get through boulders. And the reason they're so good at it is because they are making up boulders themselves. They're putting holds on the wall, looking at it, and figuring out how to force a specific move. And then later, they're trying the boulder and seeing if they can force it, why it's not forced, and how they could better make the move happen. Overall, they have the best way to learn beta. Now, becoming a route setter isn't my advice, but it is to start making up boulders around the gym. Look at the wall and see what kind of moves you can make up. See if you can force maybe a move that you're bad at and try to make it on the wall, and then try it. Visualize how to do movement and really get in the head of a route setter. I wish I did this more when I started climbing because my beta is not that great. It's because I relied on normal gym sets too often and I didn't take it upon myself to make up boulders and really flex the creativity muscle. Tip number 6 is to not spend too much time at the gym. Now, I don't mean how many times you go to the gym a week. I mean how long your sessions are. When I first started climbing, I was in love with it, and I would go to the gym for hours on end, just climbing. As I started competing and training, the time I spent climbing actually started to decrease, and the amount of times I went to the gym started to increase. At the same time, the amount of times I got injured also decreased. When you climb for too long at one time, you start to get fatigued. Your tendons, especially when you start climbing, aren't suited for climbing, and so if you're climbing too long on them, they will get irritated, they will get overworked, and you do leave yourself susceptible to injury. Now, of course, I would recommend going and getting on the wall at the gym all the time, as much as you can when you start climbing. It is the best way to learn technique and figure out how to climb. But there is a point of diminishing returns. I would recommend that new climbers don't spend more than 3 days a week at the gym and your sessions are no longer than 2 hours. As a professional climber, the longest sessions I have are 90 minutes and 6 days a week is the most frequent I've ever been to the gym, and I can only sustain that for 1 month at a time in my off season. Otherwise, I'm going between 4 and 5 sessions a week, and I'm a pro climber. So if you're just starting out, start with 2 or 3 days a week. This will help you avoid those early tendon injuries that could occur in your first few months climbing. Finally, my last piece of advice I would give my former self is to deload more often. When I first started climbing, I wouldn't spend more than 2 days away from the gym. And what I realize now is that if I took 3, 4, even 5 days away at a time, I could have leveled up a little bit faster by giving my body time to rest and recuperate and adapt to the new stresses and demands I'm giving it. I can't stress enough how shocked your tendons are going to be when you first start climbing. They are going to be begging for rest days, begging for a chance to breathe and repair and rebuild stronger so they can better serve you. So to be nice to your tendons, I would recommend taking a deload week of 4 to 6 days every 4 to 6 weeks. And that is just about it. I hope you can learn from my mistakes and maximize your first year or two of climbing.